Emily Carter learned early how to trust quietly. It showed in the way she listened more than she spoke, in how she folded her expectations into careful corners and carried them without complaint. At 26, she believed steadiness mattered more than fireworks, and that belief had led her to Ryan Mitchell. He was warm, funny, and unfailingly charming in public, someone who knew how to fill silences and make people feel chosen. With him, Emily imagined a life that would grow slowly and last. They met 3 years earlier at a community fundraiser, both volunteering at the same table, both laughing at the same small mistakes. Ryan admired her composure. Emily admired his ease. Their relationship unfolded without drama. They moved in together after a year, adopted routines that fit like old sweaters, and spoke about the future in practical terms. Marriage wasn't urgent, but it was assumed. Emily liked that assumption. It felt safe. Sophia Blake was there from the beginning, woven into Emily's life like a bright thread. They had met in college, bonded by late nights, and shared ambitions, and carried that closeness into adulthood. Sophia was bold where Emily was reserved, quick to speak and quicker to dream. She celebrated loudly and grieved dramatically. People noticed her when she entered a room, and she liked being noticed. Emily never begrudged her that. Friendship, she believed, wasn't a competition. Sophia became part of the couple's orbit naturally. She joined them for dinners, knew Ryan's favorite takeout orders, and teased him like a sister might. Ryan responded easily to her energy, laughing a little louder when she was around. Emily noticed, but she trusted the structure of her life. Trust had always rewarded her before. Still, small changes began to collect like dust on a shelf. Easy to ignore, impossible to miss once you look closely. Ryan checked his phone more often, angling the screen away without thinking. He came home later than usual, explanations casual and unconvincing. When Emily asked about his day, his answers shortened, his attention drifting. She told herself it was stress. Work had been demanding. People went through phases. Sophia, on the other hand, grew more attentive. She called Emily daily, asked careful questions about her relationship, listened with a seriousness that felt new. She offered advice without being asked, always framed as concern. "You deserve to feel secure," she would say, her voice soft, her eyes steady. Emily appreciated the care. She didn't see the hunger beneath it. One evening, as rain streaked the windows and the city hummed below, Emily cooked dinner alone. Ryan had texted to say he'd be late again. Sophia arrived instead, shaking water from her hair, carrying a bottle of wine. They ate at the small table by the window, talking about work and old memories. Sophia watched Emily closely, as if measuring her resilience. "You've changed," Sophia said gently. "You're quieter." Emily smiled. "Maybe I'm just tired." Sophia reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "If you ever feel like something's wrong, promise you'll tell me." Emily promised. Promises were easy then. A week later, Emily met Margaret Mitchell for coffee. Margaret was Ryan's aunt by marriage, a woman with calm eyes and an observant nature. She had always treated Emily with a careful kindness, as though she saw more than she said. They spoke about family and weather, about nothing and everything. As they parted, Margaret hesitated. "Take care of yourself," she said. Her tone weighted. Emily nodded, puzzled, unaware that concern often arrives before explanation. At the tea home that night, Ryan was distant, distracted by a message he didn't explain. When Emily asked if something was wrong, he kissed her forehead and told her not to worry. She wanted to believe him. Wanting felt easier than knowing. The unease grew subtle roots. Emily found herself replaying conversations, searching for missed meanings. She noticed how Sophia spoke about Ryan with a familiarity that felt too intimate, how she defended his absences before Emily could question them. None of it was proof. It was just enough to unsettle. One afternoon, Emily stopped by Sophia's apartment unannounced, carrying a bag of groceries and an apology for not calling first. The door was unlocked. Laughter floated from inside. Ryan's laughter unmistakable. Emily froze, heart stuttering, then stepped back into the hallway. She told herself she was being foolish. Friends could laugh together. There were a dozen explanations kinder than the truth. She left without knocking. That night, Emily lay awake beside Ryan, listening to his breathing. She studied the familiar curve of his face, the person she had chosen and been chosen by. Trust, she reminded herself, was an action, not a feeling. It required courage. She would not become suspicious without cause. She would not let doubt reshape her. Yet as dawn thinned the dark, a quiet certainty settled in her chest. Something was shifting, moving beyond her reach. She didn't know what it was yet, only that the life she believed in was no longer as solid as it once seemed. Emily rose quietly, made coffee, and watched the city wake. The future still existed, but it no longer felt assured. Somewhere between loyalty and truth, a choice waited for her, one she wasn't ready to face, but could no longer ignore. Emily arrived at Lucas Reed's apartment just after dusk, the sky still bruised with the memory of rain. She stood outside his door longer than necessary, her overnight bag resting at her feet, as if time might bend if she waited long enough. When the door finally opened, Lucas looked as uneasy as she felt. "I'm glad you made it," he said, stepping aside to let her in. His voice was gentle, careful, as though volume alone might cross a line neither of them wanted to approach. "Thank you for agreeing to this," Emily replied. The words felt strange in her mouth, as if politeness could make the situation ordinary. Lucas nodded, closing the door behind her. "I want you to know something right away. I didn't suggest this, and if at any point you're uncomfortable, you can leave. No explanations." That reassurance eased a fraction of the tension coiled in her chest. The apartment was modest and orderly, warm light spilling from a single lamp in the corner. There were no signs of preparation for her visit beyond a neatly folded blanket on the couch. They sat across from each other, an empty coffee table between them acting like a physical boundary. For a while, they spoke about neutral things, traffic, work schedules, the weather, anything that avoided the weight pressing down on the evening. Yet silence kept returning, persistent and demanding. "Daniel's been different," Emily said at last, surprising herself with the honesty in her voice. Lucas leaned back slightly, his expression thoughtful. "He has. I noticed it too." That simple acknowledgement unlocked something in her. Emily spoke about the distance, the half-answers, the way Daniel seemed present everywhere except with her. Lucas listened without interruption, his attention steady, his reactions restrained. He didn't defend Daniel, but he didn't condemn him either. "You didn't tell me why he asked this of you," Lucas said quietly. "Only that he needed perspective." Emily let out a humorless laugh. Perspective seems like a generous word. As the evening stretched on, their conversation grew deeper, shaped by mutual restraint rather than attraction. Lucas spoke about his own past mistakes, about friendships damaged by silence and pride. He admitted that he'd spent years learning when to step back instead of pushing forward. "I don't want to be part of something that hurts you," he said. Or him. Emily studied his face, searching for signs of hidden intention, but found none. That honesty made her trust him more than she expected. It also sharpened her confusion. If Lucas could show such care, why couldn't her husband? Her phone buzzed on the arm of the couch. A message from Daniel appeared on the screen. She hesitated before opening it. "Hope everything's okay. Talk tomorrow." The words felt distant, procedural. No question about how she felt. No sign of concern. Just an acknowledgement that the night was proceeding as planned. Emily's hands trembled slightly as she set the phone back down. "He doesn't sound worried," Lucas observed gently. "No," Emily replied. "He sounds relieved." They didn't need to say more. The truth settled between them, heavy and undeniable. Whatever Daniel hoped to learn from this night, he had already stepped away from it emotionally. When it grew late, Lucas showed Emily to the couch, offering her the bedroom without hesitation. She declined, unwilling to complicate things further. He respected her choice without comment, handing her the blanket and retreating to his room. Alone in the dim light, Emily stared at the ceiling, listening to unfamiliar sounds. The hum of the refrigerator, distant traffic, the soft closing of a door down the hall. She thought about trust and how easily it could be reframed as a test, about love and how quietly it could erode without anyone noticing. Her phone buzzed again. This time, the message was longer that I think this is good for us. Maybe we both need to see what we're capable of handling. Emily read the words twice, then a third time. Capable of handling. As if her pain were a challenge to be endured rather than a wound to be acknowledged. A cold realization crept in, clearer than any argument they had ever had. Daniel wasn't waiting anxiously for her return. He was waiting for proof. Proof that would absolve him of something he hadn't yet confessed. She set the phone aside and closed her eyes, knowing that when morning came, she would no longer be able to pretend this night was just a misunderstanding. Whatever Daniel was avoiding, it was drawing closer, and she sensed that the real betrayal had not yet revealed its face.